start with the agenda. So basically, just want to go through the results and then also talk a little bit about, the next year's challenge and the next year's, the objectives for next year as well. We also were listening out to you guys as we went through the first round, and, we know there's some areas of improvements, and that's wonderful. So we've kind of taken that up as well, and some people will present some of the improvements we're thinking about for next year and beyond. Then Scott will talk a little bit about the topics for next year. Him and his team have been thinking through those, and hopefully, there'll be some real interest for the collective as well in those topics. Then we will go through the progress reports from each of the teams as well. And that, I'm really looking forward to, because they've put in a lot of effort in that time. And I think you will be surprised and also, amazed at what they've managed to achieve. And then we can finish with some question and answers towards the end. Is that okay with everyone?
Yeah.
Is there anything that I've missed out on? No? Okay, so firstly, I see a lot of, old friends and old faces, and that's great. But just in case there's some new people as well, just a little bit about, last year and the sponsors during that year as well. As you can see, we're sponsored by the Agency for Disruptive Innovation, Sprint in Germany. We're also sponsored by ONRG, also DEFCOM, and then the Volkswagen Group as well. So we're really grateful for their sponsorship and their support through the year. The whole Serendipity Collective, we called it Powered By. It was created by Ideate Plus, who is like an innovation consultancy out of Switzerland. And then as I was listing at the activities, I amazed myself in terms of what we achieved as well, in terms of the different expertise that we brought along as well. And yeah, really, again, proud and privileged to be part of the collective. Now, the results summary, you would have seen that on LinkedIn as well, but I just kind of highlighted, some of the things that you may not have noticed. So firstly, we got really good reach. So basically, we had lots of views, and we want to push those views to around 3,000 for the website in 2024. That's the right column. Also, in terms of the active participants, that's what it's all about. That is the collective itself. And we also want to push that to a number of around 300. And then the reach of countries, we were super surprised with the 63, which was great. And we want to maintain that as well in future. In terms of the reach and engagement of the community, we've actually included some podcasts, and Milos and Nick will talk to you about that. We've also included this local chapter principle as well, because that was to give a little bit of time for the teams to form, to give a little bit of time for idea formation as well, before they were put into, let's say, the global funding round. So Johannes will talk a little bit about that if he's around, or some of the chapter leads, one of the chapter leads will go through that. In terms of the ideas, we have a target for about 100 cool ideas this time around. We were at 73 last year. We look about 8 to 10 again in terms of the ideas being validated for the pitch event. So really looking forward to that, and I'll let you know when that's going to be as well. And then, in terms of the funded experiments, we had 3 last year. We'll still keep the bar at 2 and hopefully do better than that. And then I just wanted to mention that, there were funded experiments, but then other experiments as well, which started moving forward. And we'll go through that a little bit later, but there was 2 additional ones. And actually 3 startups were formed out of the 8 that we actually validated. So that's a huge achievement. And yeah, we really need to be, we all need to be proud of that, in fact. Okay, so let's just talk a little bit about the future sort of improvements. So Milos and Nick, if you can actually tell us why we actually decided to have the podcast.
Sure, I'll chime in briefly, then Milos, please. The intent is to broaden the reach of what it is we're doing here and spread the message to new audiences, to new geographies. And so the intent basically is to reach out into, again, different disciplines, different parts of the world, in and out of the tech sector, obviously, to find people thinking in different ways and with different views on what innovation looks like. And to build some energy and build some momentum around this movement effectively by pulling in, whether they have a profile or not in a public sense, bringing in new faces, new ideas, and engaging with them about some of the fundamental premises of what this is all about. So we're optimistic and excited about getting a number of these going early in the new year, and it'll be a new kind of platform to spread the word. And myself and Milos will be a new face to many of you. Will be leading the charge on this. And please, Milos, you want to introduce yourself briefly or give us a little inspiration?
Well, thank you. Hello, everybody. My name's, like Nick said, Milos. I'm from Serbia, and I come from scientific background. And actually, I was surprised. I actually know some people that are here. So, what Nick said, the main point of the podcast was the spreading of the ideas that are something that's based that Serendipity Collective is based upon. I'm the newest here, so I guess I don't have to tell you what the Serendipity Collective is about. The podcast would be a try to reach for new people, to also make Serendipity Collective more visible. And we figured that podcast is a good platform to try. I mean, this is going to be an experiment. So we are going to shoot couple of pilot episodes, and then we'll see what the outcome is. And I hopefully will continue, inviting new interesting people and trying to talk about some ideas and try to maybe spread and also include other people into the whole collective. Mm-hmm. That's our vision. So far, we only have plans. But as this visual says, we'll try to make something. We'll make something in January. So I hope you will be, you'll be able to listen and to comment and to give us feedback and help us improve.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Milos, and really welcome to the collective. And if any of you have some interesting people with interesting stories, whether they be scientists, engineers, artists, or work in the humanities or any other sort of people, please drop me a line and let me know, and then we will do our best to contact them and have a discussion with them. Like I said, also, like now feeding into the pipeline of the global funding event, we've decided to start some local chapters. We will start initially with 4 chapters, but again, we welcome anyone else who would like to be a chapter lead as well. And I think Johannes is around. Yes, so Johannes, tell us a little bit about this, because it actually conceived at the last, the pitch event in Berlin.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. If some of you remember, I've been one of the 7 idea owners in the first competition. And the idea for those chapters really arose at the end after we finished all our presentations. And I realized, well, I entered the competition basically as a single person, and the organizers helped me to build up a team based on their network. But the main problem was that there was no prior preparation. It was really just a crazy idea being thrown directly into the innovation process. And the team wasn't really aligned, so there was a lot of friction. And what I realized is it would really help if you had like one step before the main event, like more like a grassroots movement where you could come to with a crazy idea, find people who are interested in it, may want to support you, may be able to help you also with scientific topics and help you advance the idea to a level which is actually feasible to bring to the Serendipity Collective, and then prepare it for pitching. So this was the first thing. The second thing is that my friend Peter and he was a wild card, I think, at Nigel's team. We were running a meetup by ourselves just to, basically do something similar, because we both are interested in all kinds of different things, and wanted to meet people who think unconventional and work on crazy stuff, which are not easy to find. And the idea was, why don't we merge those two things? Why don't we create some sort of local chapters which provide local points of contact for everybody with ideas which don't fare well in the conventional research ecosystem, or which are not ready for funding with investors, really to build a pipeline which feeds into the yearly events. And I'm really happy that Kev and Scott and the others agreed to try this experiment. So we're now starting with the 4 chapters you're seeing over there. And lots of different ideas surrounding this in terms of how can you create local ecosystems, which include scientific organizations, universities, certain companies, maybe startup accelerators, and so on, to really have a complete pipeline which integrates the whole knowledge and the whole ambitions of an ecosystem and filters out the most ambitious and suitable ideas for the Serendipity Collective. That's basically the idea behind it.
Thanks, Jonas. We're really excited to start this journey as well. And as you can see, everything that we do lives in the realm of experiments, and that's what makes it exciting as well. Also, in terms of the chapter leads, also wanted to thank Ken and Marina as well, who have stepped up in order to run chapters in Tallinn and Novi Sad. And then also Sophia, who was not part of the collective originally, but, had heard about it and actually also stepped up to run it for Lisbon. So we hope that Carlos and Christina, who were from Lisbon, also work with her and help her in developing that community. The other sort of improvements that we've made, I'll just go quickly on, is around the platform. So it was this whole question of matchmaking, whereby you have individuals, but, and they have great ideas, but then, they can't find the match for those ideas, either in people or also in the intellectual sense. And so what we're doing is we're enhancing the platform in order to allow for that matchmaking. And we're actually coming up with with people actually writing down the skills they require for a particular idea, and then matchmaking it with the skills of the people who are actually within the collective. And we're coming up with some way to actually push the ideas to the people who need it. So if you have particular skills, and then, an idea owner has listed those skills, then there will be a push notification to them to say, hey, look, this idea requires someone like you. So it's to be proactive rather than just expect everyone to read through the ideas and then join the teams. If you remember, that's what we had last time. So we're really excited to see that unfold as well. Now, just going on to the topics, Scott. So if you could just enlighten us in terms of, firstly, the when the topics will happen and the topics themselves.
Right. So we are very actively working towards organizing a 2024 event, both from ONR Global side as well as some of the people who have supported us in last year's event. This year, we are expanding a bit as far as our goals and ambitions. We did want to do it a little bit different this year. Instead of having any idea will work kind of concept, which we still have, but we wanted to frame things up a bit to maybe invite or at least give people some guidance on what we're looking for. Now, all of these topics are incredibly broad, And we actually have very elaborate spreadsheets where they break out into subtopics and interest areas and the like. So we are still interested in the crazy blue sky idea, and nothing is really off the table. But a lot of the feedback we got last time was people were like, well, what are you talking about? What are you looking for as far as crazy? So we tried to bin some things together this year to give a little bit of guidance. As you can see, they're still really broad. Like we have interstellar travel, which of course would take anything from materials to sustainability to functionality in austere environments and all of these different subcategories that could fall into this particular space. We have a very broad category on biomedical technologies, cell differentiation, longevity, regeneration, of course, the AI and the virtual component in the virtual selves and artificial consciousness. The realizing theoretical science one was the hardest one for us to bin because that touches on a lot of the quantum aspects, which of course are completely foreign to me, but we enter into concepts of time travel, teleportations, and string theory, the really far out stuff. Biosustainability, near and dear to my heart. We're looking for biomanufacturing, synthetic biology, and a lot of those platform type technologies. And of course, we don't want to leave out any of our social science people. We have cognitive behavioral sciences as well as psionics in there, just for a little telepathy and telekinesis, if you will. And enabling technologies, if you're feeling really crazy in that. And then, of course, real world issues like energy storage and sustainability in more traditional senses. So again, we really are looking for topics that cover the spectrum, but we wanted to give people just a bit more guidance or a way to bin their ideas. And Kevin and I have been working on how to integrate this into the platform in order to present this in the best possible light to any of the new members that join us. Of course, all of you guys know how the process works, but it is ever evolving. And so you'll see some of this in the very near future when we announce the topics and open the website up again. All right, Kev, over to you.
Thanks, Scott. Yeah, so we're hoping to actually release the challenge at the end of January, and we'll keep it open until April. And this year we're looking to host the pitch event around June. So it's about a month after last time, because we realized that we need a little bit more time. People needed a bit more time as well, once we'd actually down selected them to organize themselves as well. So there you have it in terms of the next year's challenges. So now I wanted to just give the floor to, I think Jussy's here and also Vladimir here. So this is really some unexpected and wonderful surprises in terms of, you know, where the ideas have progressed, even though, you know, we didn't fund them at the event, but we still encourage them and still support them. So if Jussy and then also Nigel can talk about where you're going with your ideas as well. So if you can just give us a little brief on that, we really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Kev. I wish to acknowledge all the tremendous encouragement by you, Kev. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, our concept is called Panlife Carpet, where we want to restore and revegetate arid and disturbed land surfaces. And we were given the advice, no technical details, by Mr. Walper in the Berlin event, and I will stick to this. But I can say that we have plans in progress in both in Europe and in Africa. And there are people interested in our idea. We are looking for investors. We have them partly. We also had plans in the Middle East, but the situation there is a bit mixed up at the moment, as you well know. I will show you just one screen.
I can stop sharing.
Yeah, please. Yes. Do you see the picture?
Yep.
This is a lab experiment from Novi Sad conducted at the University of Novi Sad, where we have been trying different consortia, microorganisms, different substrates. This means geological substrates and different carriers for our idea. And we get tremendous results in our work. we have more or less achieved at laboratory level the things we promised at the Berlin event. And now it's time to apply this in practice outside the laboratory. So I have only good news to tell. Yeah.
That's great, you see. I mean, honestly, you not only have an inspirational idea, but you've got a phenomenal team as well. Really highly motivated, highly skilled, group of experts as well. And I'm sure you've been broadening that team since you saw us in Berlin. So really, congratulations and well done.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Kevin. Yeah.
Nigel, now over to you, just to tell us a little bit about what you've been up to.
Unfortunately, I don't have any exciting photos like that one, which is actually really intriguing. But yeah, so we were very fortunate. We got a significant Australian government contract, a research contract, in July. So among other things, that's enabled us to buy ourselves a second very powerful high-performance computer. So though the work we've been doing there is sort of tangential to the self-aware operating system, it means that we've had a whole lot of additional capacity to run simulations and build out the concept. As I said to Kevin, we're not ready to unveil what we've been doing just yet, but early next year. So I was very excited to see that various forms of self-aware AI are on the list for next year, because we should have something very interesting to show by then. So yeah, so we're among other things, we're planning to demonstrate our technology on a micro turbine, a physical turbine, and actually have our AI evolve to understand the microturbine and manipulate the microturbine to understand it better.
That's awesome, Nigel. I'm not sure I fully understand all the intricacies, but I met the team, and you've got a great team as well. So really looking forward to hearing more.
Yeah. Well, as I said, when we're ready to unveil, it should be pretty exciting. So looking forward to showing you it.
Cool. Okay, so now I guess you're all here also to learn a little bit about what's been happening. So I'll now hand it over to the teams themselves. So we'll go in the order of Igor. You go first with your team, then Yakin, you go second, and then Michael will follow through at the end. We'll try and keep it to 10 minutes each. I can see it's almost we'd have enough time. So over to you, Igor, to start off with.
Okay, thanks. I will share my screen. Just a second. So do you see it? Yeah, okay, perfect. So yeah, I will present you our biosynthetic line forms project and what we have achieved during the last 6 months. Maybe you remember, but or not, but our vision is to develop autonomous, adaptable, self-aware, and conscious machines. And to do that, we needed to start from some basic assumptions. And we started from analyzing what agents should have in order to survive and thrive in very changeable, unstructured, and complex environment. And to do that, any agent should be first aware of relevant data and activities in the environment, should be able to understand and interpret those observed relationship, and also should be able to develop context-based action plans in order to learn and react accordingly. And all of this should happen in real time and with incomplete data. And that setting make us quite close to artificial general intelligence problem, which is quite popular now. And in that field, machine intelligence is usually defined as an ability of an agent to observe environment, to execute some actions, and to achieve some complex goals and optimize its own rewards in a variety of diverse environments. And indeed, it is a robust common sense approach, but upon some deeper analysis, it implies several things. First, that environment in this setting is a priori given and observer independent. And also, it implies that goals of an agent are predefined and fixed. And for our purpose of developing conscious agents, these implications are highly problematic because they leave out two important things. First, changeability of the environment, and the second one, subjective self-analysis of goals and actions. And it have a lot of consequences, of course, but I would like to stress out two most important ones. The first one is that such setting require continuous in-the-loop human supervision, who will constantly needs to be there to provide goals, to provide what is the environment, where attention should be focused, and so on. Second consequence is that basically that approach is quite fixed. And if you want to reach generality, it will also imply that your agent will also strive toward infinite complexity. So we think that we need a radical paradigm shift, and instead of developing predefined, non-adaptable, and quite fixed agents, we believe that we need an evolvable platform where you can grow or develop agents whose structure is formative, self-organizing, and evolvable. And such agents should be able first to generate complex concepts by integrating multimodal data sources from the environment around them. Then should be able to layer those complex concepts into different levels of abstraction, then should be able to generate hypotheses and mentally verify them so they can develop their own plans, what should be done. And finally, they should be able to monitor themselves, to look at themselves, and be self-adaptable. And if we take all of those aspects together, actually, that lead us to consciousness. So obviously, here we are striving towards quite challenging technical goals that raises some very important ethical issues. And now with this Serendipity Collective initiative that basically goes beyond the usual constraints of quite near-term project goals, we get encouraged to form a company, a startup, with a vision to redefine the future of AI innovation by developing such evolvable platform for developing conscious agents. And after more than a decade of working on theory, philosophy, and modeling of open-ended evolvability, we gathered together into some sort of multidisciplinary synergistic team with seasoned experts in mathematics, in machine learning, in physical chemistry, biochemistry, in digital art, data visualization, in ethics. So we can bring this vision to reality. And in this project, we started with two paths that will eventually merge together. The first one is our idea that we need to develop a rigorous mathematical framework where instead of using a large set of different specific dynamical models for different aspects, we are relying on category theory as a sort of unifying framework that will help us to determine optimal modes and computational limits of specific implementations of the entire platform and of our software agents. And when it came to software agents, our starting point is that all existing AI approaches, including those deep neural networks that are so favored by major players in the field, basically, they have all inherent limitations I described a few slides ago. So therefore, we went back to the roots of computational theory and basically started from scratch. And in the last 6 months, we developed a new class of hierarchical state machines. We developed a platform for their composition into novel brain-like evolvable multi-layer networks, and we developed the overall cognitive architecture that will lead our future next steps. And now we have a basic set of basic platform that is simplified, where agents live in a two-dimensional world, but they are capable for one-shot decomposition of arbitrarily complex observed scene into lower and higher order concepts. They can spontaneously group them into clusters, and through experience and different scenes they can see, they gradually grow their internal network of cluster concepts and their mutual interactions. And since we are in the business of developing consciousness or conscious agents, we need some progress indicators. And luckily, a few months ago, a large group of authors actually made a paper where they took all the most important theories of consciousness and extracted from them something they called indicator properties. And here you can see a progress bar where we are now with each of them. And I would like to emphasize that with our architecture, we are actually simultaneously progressing across all of those indicators, which give us additional indication that we are on the right path. Next, in the upcoming months, we are of course continuing to work on that, and we'll focus on awareness and subjective world representation of those agents, on making that even more complex and encompassing. Then we plan to gradually shift towards developing self-awareness and self-intentionality of those agents, and finally, as a crown achievement, to implement self-consciousness as a way of being aware of self-awareness. And right now we are working with synthetic simplified data, but again, quite soon we plan to move toward more real-life data, like sensory data streams, video, and images, especially from different sources that depict the same scene, because it will be quite interesting to see how agents are able to create different interpretations of the same happening in the outside world. And just at the beginning, at the end, I would like to briefly show you animation of a demo run of what is happening with our agent. So on the left-hand side, you can see patterns that agent observe. On the right side is agent's memory, and those dots are actually nodes in its internal network. When it observes complex concept, it can be decomposed into simple patterns, and it also automatically leads to layering of internal network. When it see some complex scene, then it recognize what is already known and reinforce existing node in internal network. When it is something new, it is automatically added and decomposed into already known simple patterns. If it is completely new, it is memorized as a basic pattern that could be reconfigured later on. And if it is similar to existing one, it is memorized with close connection to it. So gradually, that internal network became more complex. And we tested it on a randomly generated large sets of 2D patterns. Our next steps, as I already said, is basically to scale up existing functionalities through different activities outlined here, and also is to develop novel functionalities focusing on self-analysis, attention focusing, and dynamical mental representation. So with that, yeah, I would like to thank you all, and of course, thanks Serendipity Collective for this opportunity.
Thanks, Igor, and just wanted to extend the thanks to the team as well. I mean, tremendous amount of work and some really promising results as well, which, like Igor's team and the rest of the team, the Serendipity Collective will be seeking funding either from our sponsors or other people in our network as well to carry on the great work. So next, we will have Yakin's team.
Thank you, Kev. I'll get right into it if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, this was our title of our project, Co-Create Music with Brainwaves. Now, the brain is a mysterious thing. It's been strange studying the brain, and I've often wondered what the brain looks like trying to understand itself. I've looked deeply into the signals that can be captured from the brain, and I think we are on the verge of a new way of leveraging this signal. For example, let's imagine what humans could do if they could communicate directly from mind to mind. And let's pair that idea with the concept that music is a universal language of some kind and is also called the language of emotion. If we can learn to, people synchronize and coordinate action to music, from people building houses in Africa to people rowing ships to massive troop movements on ancient battlefields. And we believe that if we can learn to co-create music with brainwaves, we might be able to coordinate complex maneuvers, connect to a network of hive minds, or possibly send emotion across the room, the continent, or to other planets someday. And joining me today is the greatest brain band on Earth, I believe, which is our core team of scientists, engineers, and artists, the recent founders of the startup Brain Music Innovations. Our team has now been extended to 12 people in labs across the world, each bringing very specialized knowledge. I began investigating how to make music with brainwaves 3 years ago, which resulted in this system, which enables a single user to manipulate sound and light intentionally using the brain, while also playing a musical instrument. As a musician and a composer myself, I was most interested in the brain of the creator, the performer, the improviser. But most of the neuroscience up till now has been focused on the listener, so we are exploring uncharted waters. Having succeeded in controlling music with the brain for a single user, the next step, which is where we are now, is to connect two brains and study communication between them while they play music. Musicians coordinate co-creative actions toward a goal, just like athletes, dancers, pilots, and submarine crews, as do scientists, entrepreneurs, enterprises, and spy networks, why not? In May this year, our team proposed a multi-user brain-computer music interface, a BCMI, which would be capable of measuring and rewarding interbrain synchronization, or IBS, to the Serendipity Collective, and we were successful. Today, we report on what we have done since then, and also gently ask for further support to continue. Here is our team in Berlin receiving the grant, and a few more pictures of the collaborations we have secured over the last 6 months. These include the Brain Music Lab in Colorado, the Neuroergonomics Lab in Kaohsiung, Biophysics Lab in Vilnius, and Star Lab in Barcelona. Here is an overview of the work that we promised to do since May, and I can happily report that we have completed all that we have set out to achieve. The most important outcomes at this stage were the successful partnerships made with laboratories in the United States and in Taiwan in order to collect EEG data with us in 2024, as well as the design of an experiment to conduct this research, including our own software solutions to solve the technical challenges that still exist today. Specifically, these challenges we have tackled regard issues like synchronizing and performing complex real-time calculations on data which is incoming at 500 data points per second from 32 locations per brain. And another big problem is that the EEG signal is very tiny and is easily obscured by electrical noise. It's like trying to record fish talking underwater from the beach. The problems become especially confounding when trying to make sense of what the brain is actually doing in real time. Most EEG data analysis comes to us after a lot of pre-processing, which involves many steps. So this is what my team has been working on solutions for, and it's not easy. Otherwise, someone else would have done it before. We have come up with several solutions that are more advanced than the current state of the art, and we continue to press ahead. At this point, I'd like to briefly introduce our team. Kent is a biomedical equipment expert and a cunning entrepreneur. Martin is a signal processing expert and also a world-class visual artist. Valdis is a music perception and attention scientist and the vice rector of the Latvian Music Academy. Reza is also a biomedical equipment expert and an electrical engineer. I believe that we are the right team to carry out this work because we are interdisciplinary. We come with a high level of academic and scientific rigor. And most importantly, we are inspired. We are already ahead of the curve in addressing the current challenges. For example, when we visited Starlab in this picture in Barcelona, we initially went to ask them for their help, but then we discovered that we had been using their hardware in ways that they themselves had never imagined or figured out themselves. Next, I would like to share some of our most significant achievements during these past 6 months. We set out to develop and demonstrate a co-creative BCMI. Here's one example of a visual of 2 particle systems. Each one is controlled by one user's brain based on their expressive intentions on the dimension of arousal, or active versus calm. When the signals from the 2 brains are synchronized or in agreement on expressive intentions, the particle systems move together to form a single particle system, and vice versa when they are in disagreement. Here you can see how we have demonstrated this system working at several conferences in September this year in Riga, Tallinn, and Tartu. You can see here the particle system on the screen charting interbrain synchronization while Martin and I play music together. The amount of synchronization is also responsible for controlling several musical parameters as well, such as the rhythms of my synthesizer and the reverb amount on Martin's flutes. So here you can see a second solution demonstration. We have color-coded alpha and beta brainwave amplitudes from 2 brains, red and blue, and compared them in real time across up to 4 different brain regions. The point of this demo is to illustrate that this method can be used to control any kind of computer commands, not just musical ones. Here you can see a bit of the computer program behind and the different controls that are being output to musical systems. And here you can see 8 more software solutions that Martin has developed. Each one of these is a major breakthrough, never achieved by anyone else. Here signals are being compared based on spectral power or by their phase relationships, both of which are IBS metrics. Further, Martin has also created stunning topographical maps of the human brain. You can see here, which we can zoom into the brain and render synchronized activity, as well as some very beautiful artistic outputs, transforming the EEG signal into massive particle clouds that react and behave according to real-time activity. Next, on to future steps. As we have shown, we have succeeded in building cutting-edge software for using the existing hardware. But this hardware is not designed for our purposes, and our goal looking ahead is to collect and analyze EEG data at 3 partner labs in order to build our own hardware systems, which I believe will completely change the game. In preparation for next year, we have completed a number of critical steps, establishing lab partners, designing the experiment itself, as well as software to control it. We have yet to secure funding for 2024 in order to carry out the work. Here's an overview of our experiment design we plan to conduct in 2024. I won't go into detail except to say that it involves 12 pairs of subjects from each of 3 laboratories, which will result in a total of 1,260 recorded trials, sufficient for analysis and publication of the results. Here's a brief overview of our technical setup for the experiment involving 2 types of co-creative music interaction designed to enhance interbrain synchronization. One controls rhythmic task where a percussionist and a subject play a given rhythm in synchrony, and one improvisation task where they have no idea what the other person will play, but must work together in real time to weave a comprehensive musical fabric. This design was created by Valdis Bernhofs, our expert in the psychophysiology of oral training. Here you can see a demonstration of the experiment design, which we recorded for our partner labs. Here am I and a professional percussionist wearing the electrode caps while Martin controls the experiment protocol, recording 2 brains simultaneously while providing instructions to subjects on the screen. This is the rhythmic task demo, and here is the improvisation task demo, where we play different music on different instruments, trying to create a coherent musical narrative. To summarize, our project, Co-Create Music with Brainwaves, aims to monitor and reward interbrain synchronization via the EEG during co-creative human interaction. We expect that We expect that this solution will be best applied in monitoring and training teams that depend on high levels of IBS to be successful, for successful goal-directed co-action, such as musicians, athletes, pilots, submarine crews, or even astronauts. Further, we expect that this solution will be able to enable further research. The tools that we create will be the first of its kind and will provide the means for further investigation by many others, possibly leading to forms of direct and silent mind-to-mind communication networks. Finally, humans are always looking for better and more secure ways to communicate. By investigating communication between brains during music making directly, we expect to unlock new ways to leverage the EEG signal for the improvement of human life and teamwork. Thanks so much for the opportunity and the encouragement and the attention and for your kind consideration. Back to you, Kev.
Thanks, Yakin. Truly inspirational. Honestly, the new science that all of you have investigated and unlocked is absolutely phenomenal. And you know, we will do our best within the collective to find you know, investments so you can carry on your work as well. So thank you very much. Michael, maybe you can actually just give a brief on in terms of where you guys are at as well. I'm sure everyone would be, yeah, you know, really willing to hear your progress.
You got it. Can everyone hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. I'm gonna share some things. So as a reminder, Green G was the team looking to basically connect and create a network, a biologic network of plants for both communication and sensing systems, and kind of in the vision globally. And so the idea was we want to find fundamental technologies and developments that connect or investigate plant-to-plant communication. That's both, we called it wireless, sort of through the cloud and literally through the air, and then subterranean as well. So our team brought together myself, who is faculty at NC State here on the US side, Carlos and Christina, who are in Portugal, and they work a lot on the subterranean side of fungal sort of systems, as well as abiotic-biotic interactions. Antrish in Germany, a student who's actually, I think he's preparing his thesis in defense right now. So best wishes and maybe prayers go out to him for that effort that he's trying to accomplish. And Tom Chatfield in England, who is a philosopher of science, actually, and sort of the visions of impact of technology and how technology interacts with the environment that we're in. And so this was our vision starting. One of our major goals, and I'll talk about it at the end, was to have sort of a symposia, workshop, enclave in the upcoming year to really discuss the major technical hurdles and ideas to move forward with this. And I'll mention that in a sec. But we have been working and discussing on a few different fronts how to implement such a technology. So Carlos has been setting up at their labs sort of these different fungal communication platforms and testing that he really wants to investigate, which I think is cool. So you can think about that as the wired communication component that's being worked on in Portugal. Andrish has been developing network models. So he has interesting background in sort of drone and communication deployment and some physics behind that. So he's looking at these network models of connecting information through over large areas. And so this is sort of the vision. And on our side, I'll show some pictures. We've been working on actually physically wiring up plants. So this is an example of soybean, which is a popular crop here in the US. And we're actually plugging into them to record impedance and responses to environmental stressors, and actually linking plants to plants to see across a field where you can predict and how drought stressors or stressors at one end or in one plant can refer back to another. So we've been building out these wired up networks in our greenhouses. I'll skip that for a sec. And we've also been developing electrochemical patches. So these are carbon-based, nanocellulose-based films that can be applied to the plant for electrochemical detection of phytohormones. So they communicate between hormones that can actually be elicited in the air. And so how do we make these measurements on the plant and then record what's coming from other plants? So we've been developing some of the hardware If you guys remember at the end, Scott had asked about repeaters and repeater signals, and we're trying to connect those components of a communication network into hardwares of the plant. We're actually setting up one of our final experiments this week. This is Matt, proud of his work of planting. This is actually going to be on corn and wiring up corn. And also we're implementing a video recording strategy. So you can think about it almost like the body language of the plants as well. We want to communicate and how they're behaving and interacting across this kind of small simulated setup in our greenhouse. So this is some of the technical side of the work that we've been doing over the last 6 months or so since the meeting in Berlin and developing things. Now, towards sort of our bigger vision of bringing together a wider community or collective in this space, the Institute for Connected Sensor Systems was initiated here at NC State in the last year that I'm a co-director of. And we held an event called Sensors, Biosystems, and Analytics Converge. So this was just sort of a kickoff to see our local community, what was sort of interested in the space of both bioanalytical technologies. That included stuff that was more human biology, but we also had panels and discussions on plant and agriculture, sensings and systems. And so you'll see where this is going in a sec, but we had a nice discussion about what the major technologies are and definitions that would be important for a global discussion on plant-to-plant communication. In the last week or so, our plant science initiative, I teamed up with them, who's here at NC State, to participate and hold a meeting called Connecting to Grow, which was all about plant sensor systems. And we developed an array of collaborations and white paper concepts for sensors and plants in different teams. And it was everything from faculty to graduate students and industrial members and extension members here at NC State. And so what this is really all leading to is that Christina and Carlos have set up and have created a spot next, it'll probably be in next April, May timeframe in Portugal. We will be holding a multi-day symposium and workshop on plant-to-plant communication and connection and this concept of Green G. And through these workshops and sort of these listening sessions we've been creating, we've actually started paring down concepts and topics and really the heavy hitting discussions we want to have. And through this, we've also been collecting the list of participants that can potentially contribute and would have the most impact to build teams that can go forward either to pursue funding or pursue new initiatives in the different technical areas, because it does span sort of the wide range from very basic plant biology all the way through to even governmental sort of inputs, right? Once you start thinking about land use and communications at that type of scale. And so these are the things we've been building up over the last 6 months, all pointing to next spring, in which we'll be holding an event, and ideally participants and invitations to all the members from our last collective to attend as well.
Thanks, Michael. Awesome work. I just wanted to, I know there's only a couple of minutes left, but I just wanted to hand it over to Rhett in terms of maybe, Rhett, you've got some final remarks as well based on what you have seen. I know you're actively involved in the collective as well. So over to you.
Thanks, Kev. First of all, I want to say it's incredible to see the kinds of work that you guys are doing. Very exciting. Something we love to see out of the box thinking, and so I'm encouraged by what has been presented. I think that I would encourage you to continue doing that development, and we're looking forward to working with the Serendipity Collective moving forward for next year, next calendar year, for our Global X Challenge and X Tech Challenge. So more of that will come, where we can kind of put some specific focus areas. I will say that this experiment has been, it's an experiment, right? The Serendipity Collective started off as what can happen. To me, it's been a success. These ideas have come out, and the teams are working towards them. You're generating a lot of interest, even starting off these communities, these Serendipity communities, and the podcast. These are all great things that are happening. And we like to see that to expand the network, expand our reach across even more countries, because the more we can evolve, the better. And I'll just say my personal belief has always been that true innovation requires a multidisciplinary approach, and the teams have naturally gone to that. It seems maybe some of us have thrown in some suggestions, but the projects presented today, the three have shown a multidisciplinary approach using different backgrounds, pulling together to make some things happen, which I think is, again, proof that this is what we need to do. So I'm excited to see what comes out. And back to you, Kev.